Beavers are large rodents. They are diligent animals, committing tremendous effort into the construction of their lodges and dams. Dams across rivers and creeks slow the flow of water and accumulate it in a given region, transforming the local ecology. It is the construction of these dams that make them a keystone species and ecosystem engineer in Eurasia and North America. Although dams are what make them best known to us, this is not a universal trait to the clade, and only one genus of Chimeran beaver invests in dams. In our own history, beavers used to be much more diverse. Chimeran beavers retain a lot of this diversity, and have a much longer history in Kaimere than most placental mammals. During the Oligocene, a harvest prompted by shifting continents caused localized extinctions in what is now the known world that brought many animals into the established tyrant dynasty. Although they didn't shake things up enough to topple the dynasty, this harvest did bring many mammals to Kaimere. The ones that found the most success were animals that could fit into gaps in established niches. A genus of burrowing beaver, Castor, went on to establish a little dynasty of their own, spreading across what is now the northern and eastern continents. Their burrows form a winding corkscrew, which provides both protection and insulation in often scalding prairies. Many were later replaced by lagomorphs and ground squirrels, but one small burrowing beaver is still found in the Howsey Prairie, called the biting sloth for their habit of digging with their teeth, and a mistaken identification of them as a type of tiny ground sloth due to their superficial resemblance to burrowing prairie sloths instead of other digging rodents in the area. Most recent beavers bear a much closer resemblance to what we associate with these animals today, living in water and feeding on wetland vegetation. By far the largest is the bearded or giant beaver. Although they may resemble giant beavers of Earth's past, such as Castoroides or Trognotherium, they are independently giant, evolving from a much smaller beaver that lived much like a modern muskrat. They thrived in their current form for over 2 million years, but unfortunately they have suffered greatly under competition from the common hippopotamus. Their preference for tougher vegetation helps them niche partition, but their population has still dwindled, and they are now only found in the Siritic wetlands, where the behemoth having a low tolerance for the common hippo actually helps contribute to the survival of animals like the giant beaver, which otherwise might go extinct. There is also a small population in the crescent jungles. Castor, the genus of beavers we are most familiar with and has 2 species here on modern Earth, also has 2 Chimeran species, both descended from Eurasian beavers of the Pleistocene. Compared to our species, they have thicker skin and less fat, both adaptations to a generally warmer climate in Kaimere. There was once a divide between the common beavers of the northern continent and the dark-browed beaver of Arvel and Picardia, but now the common beaver has since spread throughout most of the known world. The dark-browed beaver is now restricted to Picardia, the western highlands, and a few hybrid populations in the Arvelith lowlands. The dominance of the common beaver comes down to faster reproduction and larger litters, traits that tend to perform better in the R-selection dominant ecosystem set by dinosaurs. Lodges of the dark-browed beaver are more intricate and insulated, an advantage that has ensured their continued survival in the colder regions of the known world. Both common and dark-browed beavers build lodges and dams. Lodges provide a dry, warm, safe place to seek shelter in a very dangerous world. Both species are monogamous and raise their young in the lodge for many years, where they learn how to build and socialize before going off to make their own lodges. Often females will live in the same area as their parents, and beaver colonies will often have many families of related animals. Dams provide an invaluable benefit to local ecologies. They create artificial wetlands that provide water, prevent erosion, support the high-protein plants common in wetlands, which in turn supports more megafauna, purifies the water by slowing it so harmful particles trickle down into the sediment and are either processed or locked to prevent algal blooms. The habitats that the dams provide in terms of sheer biomass and biodiversity cannot be overstated. Waterfowl, fish, invertebrates, and thousands of other animals call beaver lakes their home. Many birds and small dinosaurs nest on top of beaver lodges because they are warm, safe, and sturdy, especially those built by Picardian beavers. The feeding on and felling of trees also recycles nutrients through decomposition, which is especially important in highland ecosystems, which can often suffer from trapped nutrients. When beavers leave an area and their dams wash out, they leave behind nutrient-rich meadows that deer and other mammalian grazers thrive on, especially in an ecosystem dominated by gymnosperms, which are preferred by dinosaurs. Beavers provide a service to the ecology that cannot be overstated, but they are not without their challenges. Subadult Kurajaku in particular are large predators that need clear rivers to hunt, running up and down substrate as they do. Their movement benefits the ecosystem in the transfer of nutrients in wetland habitats, and frequent travels upriver brings estuary nutrients into the highlands. Blockages such as dams are not tolerated. A sort of arms race between beavers and Kurajaku sometimes occurs, where even within the same day, sections of the dam are torn down and then repaired. They can cohabitate, and Kurajaku do thrive in beaver lakes. They just need to get around. Common beavers are known to make a slide of sorts that Kurajaku can use to travel up and down river, and the beavers have accepted this as the price you pay when sharing a river with a dragon. Titanosaurs are the great gardeners of the known world, and alongside beavers and Kurajaku, the most prolific ecosystem engineers. Their migration and foraging also topples trees and moves nutrients, making them critical to the health of their conifer forests. Like the Kurajaku, they often come into conflict with beavers and their constructions, although usually not as directly or intentionally. They prefer more dry terrain. Although they aren't intelligent enough to figure out that the beavers are the ones flooding their homes, they will enter wetlands to feed and instinctively clear out debris. This is a common enough occurrence where they intersect that beavers will usually congregate near existing waters and enrich those wetlands, leaving the titans to their drier highlands. Although sometimes beavers seem to accept this challenge with gusto, happy to match their diligent effort with the meandering of titans over 1,000 times their size. Chimeran peoples have a range of opinions on beavers. The Free States and Kadjareth, deeply agricultural peoples, periodically cull them for the damage to viable farmland they cause, and hunt them for meat, fur, and castoreum. The Sarid hunt the giant beaver, but they aren't common enough to make it an industry, and although they feed on tough vegetation, they don't seem to target the beams of elevated Saridic villages, so are usually left alone in that respect. To the Picardian, beaver stands alongside spider and human as some of the great creator spirits, and for this reason, killing beavers is deeply taboo. Any issues that beavers cause are left to members of the Confederacy who follow beaver as their patron spirit, who will relocate the beavers if the issue they cause cannot be worked around. The Arveleth consider beavers sacred for similar reasons, and particularly Highland Arveleth worship them as lake makers that provide life-giving water to regions that might otherwise be desolate. Although technically multituberculates, and in no way related to true beavers, the Sea Beavers of Kaimere are often lumped into the same clade by Chimeran naturalists. These Nomtherian mammals include two species. The lesser sea beaver is extremely common in the inland sea and warm estuaries of every continent. It is around the size of common beavers. The greater sea beaver is much larger and has a higher tolerance for cold water, but tends to avoid estuaries and populated areas. Both are omnivores, feeding on a range of crustaceans and seagrass. Their spurs possess a potent venom, and although not an animal that will seek out a fight, the greater sea beaver has killed many people who do not treat them with respect. Mothers with joeys, or males near a mother with child, are especially aggressive. They are pouched animals, and joeys can hold their breath for around half an hour while their mother forages. safe and dry in the pouch that can seal itself. Sea beavers evolved on the eastern continent, and as their ancestor was harvested during the Cretaceous, they have no close relatives in the fossil record or living on Earth. Beavers are truly fascinating animals. Here on Earth, we are getting better about living alongside them and appreciating all the wondrous ecological benefits that beavers provide. Although not always well regarded, beavers are usually admired by Kaimerans, and they thrive throughout the known world. That's all for today. Thank you all so much for watching, and have a fantastic day. Cheers, folks!